time to talk about family partnerships. We're on chapter, what is this? Chapter 8, Family and Teachers, an Essential Partnership. So here we go. When families and childcare providers develop positive relationships, who benefits? Well, guess what? Everybody benefits. So we have parents who feel secure in knowing that their children are in a place where they're safe and that they're learning, and that someone who has an awesome knowledge of child development is working with them. Um, Parents gain a sense of the child's life. So, what happens at preschool or daycare, um, kids can't always tell us about. So, if we have a relationship with families, we can tell, oh, Maisie was crawling like crazy today. Those are things that parents want to know. What's happening when they're not with their kids? Education about child development. Like I said, parents don't always know how children are typically supposed to develop. And so it's important that we share our knowledge with them. Um, in my old school in the nursery, we had, parents who would be like, well, I don't understand why she's not walking or talking. And so the teachers in that classroom were very good about posting posters that showed this is what typical development looks like from 0 to 12 months, so that parents would have a better idea of what to expect. Support for more effective parenting. So sometimes parents will come to us and say, I'm having such a hard time getting her to put on her clothes in the morning. What do you think I should do? Well, if it's a 3-year-old, it may be that she doesn't want to wear the things that you've picked out. So maybe the night before you give her two choices and she gets to pick one, right? So she feels a little bit more like she's part of the process and she's in charge of her own self. Those are things that can help parents. Increased feelings of self-worth and confidence. Being a confident parent is a hard thing to do, and when a person who is a child care professional tells you you're doing a good job, it means a lot. So it's important for us to always talk about the good things that children are doing, the positive things. And when you and parents, families have a good relationship, children develop a trust in you, right? If they know that mom or dad feels good about Miss Amy, then they're going to feel good about Miss Amy. A sense of value. If you um, children understand that school is important, being away from parents, having a place where they're learning, they learn that that's important. Feelings of security and confidence, again, knowing that mommy and daddy know Miss Amy and they are okay with her makes everybody feel better. And a deeper relationship between the child and the parent and the child and the teacher. So being able to share information from you to the parents helps the parents have a better relationship with the child, right? And from the parents to you information helps you understand the child a little bit better. And what do teachers gain? Obviously, a better knowledge of the child when you can say to the parents, you have a relationship where you can say to the parents, hey, what's going on with Julie? What do I need to know? Um, that helps you every day with Julie, right? An opportunity to encourage consistent practice. This one's really important. Some of the things, the expectations that we have at school aren't necessarily the same ones that parents have at home. And if you have a positive working relationship with parents, you can say to them, at school, we're working really hard on using inside quiet voices. Maybe you could work on that at home. And they know then, oh, wow, they're encouraging Jacob not to yell at school. Maybe I'll encourage Jacob not to yell at home. Fewer instances of challenging behavior. Of course, if parents know what's going on at school and kids know that parents know, sometimes, especially with a little bit older kids, all it takes is, do I need to talk to your mom about that? And if the kids know that you know their mom, they might take that seriously. Trust of children and parents, that positive relationship between families and providers develops trust. Help and support, like if you have a relationship where you can say, you know what, we need 14 milk cartons for the classroom. Can you help us with that? Or I need somebody to go on a field trip with us. Can you help with that? Parents are going to be much more interested and um, engaged and encouraged to do that stuff if they already have a relationship. And of course, it helps future teachers because you're already setting up a relationship, a positive relationship, and they're going to work for that in future classes. So, how do you do this? Well, there are a lot of ways, but I've boiled it down to four ways here: meet, share, teach, and involve. So, you get to know kids and their families. And one of the ways you do this is through a child information sheet, having the parents fill out an information sheet with everything you need to know about their kid, from their birthday obviously, to what language they speak at home, what their favorite foods are, foods they're allergic to. I mean, that's really important. But then also things like, what are they scared of, what do they like to do, what's their favorite TV show, what's their favorite book. So this gives you a place to already have some knowledge about the child to develop that deeper relationship. Teacher bio information. Parents want to know about you. So they want a picture of you and your family. They want to know where you went to school, how long you've been doing this, how many kids do you have. They want to know that stuff. A face to face intro meeting. If you can have a face to face meeting with the parents before you meet the child or at the same time you meet the child, that's fantastic. That's so helpful. And then Facebook friends or Instagram friends or Twitter, yes or no? These are good questions. I encouraged my teachers at my former school to not necessarily be Facebook friends with parents until the child was no longer in their care. There are a lot of things you don't need to know about parents that get posted on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. Um, and as one of my friends once said, I don't like Facebook because it teaches me things I don't want to know about people. So I think that's a relationship you can have after the child's no longer in your care. But I think it's hard to separate that professional, I am your child's care provider, professional person, from, oh, here's pictures of mom and dad out drinking with friends or whatever. But that's entirely up to you and your program. So here's a copy of a all about our child sheet, which we would have fill out every year. And this goes into the office. And it also goes, a copy goes to the teacher who is going to be that child's teacher. And then we also did all about the teacher things. We did a Pete the Cat theme um, every other year or so, for our first theme of the year, and they would put pictures in here and write little notes and things, and then post this outside the classroom because there's a lot going on in a classroom. Parents are not completely focused on meeting teachers. I had a teacher, a parent, come to me about, oh, right before Christmas, just emailed me and said, what are the teachers' names in my child's classroom? This is a toddler classroom. So she had been dropping off her child every day for 3, 4 months, and she didn't know the teachers' names. It's important to have this information posted outside your classroom. Share, communicating with families. What's your environment saying? When you walk up to the front door of your program or your classroom, what do you see? Do you see messiness? Do you see organization? Do you see welcoming? Those are things you want to look at. You want to look at your place with fresh eyes. When you look around, do you see a lot of clutter? Do you see a lot of um, children's artwork? Do you see junk? Make sure that what you are saying to families and also to children is, this is a pleasant, calm place where we do our work and we have a good time. Talking with parents. You should be greeting parents every day. Um, I have had parents in the past who weren't people who greeted other adults in the morning. So one of my teachers made it her life's mission to make sure that one of the dads said hello to her at one point during the year. Talking with parents is really important, but it's also important to say to parents, this is not a good time to talk. If they want to talk to you about some important thing that's happening, pick up and drop off are crazy, chaotic times. Maybe you set up another time to talk. Maybe you have a phone call. Maybe you exchange emails. But having those larger, deeper conversations during pickup and drop off is definitely difficult. What to say and how to say it every day. One of the things that I told my staff, and you've probably heard this before, is that you should always be talking to parents and giving them a positive sandwich. So let's say Elijah had a really hard day at school today. So the first thing, you don't say, "Oh my God, Elijah had such a hard day at school today. It was just awful. He was terrible." It was No parent wants to hear that, right? No parent wants to hear that their kid is a disaster. So, even if Elijah was a complete disaster, there are probably two things that you can think of that Elijah did that were positive. So, maybe Elijah really loved his snack today, and Elijah had a meltdown during group time, and this is what we did about it. But after group time, he seemed to be very calm and he played in blocks for a while. So make sure that for every negative thing you're saying about a kid, you can think of two positives. And they don't have to be big things. It could be Elijah had a really great shirt on today that everybody liked. It doesn't have to be something monumental, but making sure that you are presenting children in a positive way is a really important way of developing those good relationships with parents. Um, as far as physically how you can communicate with parents, we did a weekly newsletter or a monthly newsletter. Classrooms can do weekly newsletters, postcards, websites, texting, email, social media. Those are all things that you might want to consider. Our My former program used a program called Bright Wheel, and it included a way to communicate with parents that was very easy, and it also meant that you weren't, like, sending a private text from your private phone. Okay, we used to just put pictures up on, a Tumblr site, which was password protected so that parents could see what was going on. Once we got our app, our check in and out app, Right Wheel, we could just send pictures to parents, right? And then this is our monthly newsletter, which is some updates on what was going on. Each month, parents got that from the school, right? And that's sharing. Teaching. Teaching is educating and supporting families. So you're helping them, and that means you're finding resources for them. You're sharing your thoughts and assessments about a child. You're helping them find local resources. You're helping them access early intervention. You're helping them find support groups for various things that they might be dealing with. You're also helping them find, library story hours or park district programs like Touch a Truck. One of the things that went in our old monthly newsletter was, what are some park district programs that are going on this month that parents might not know about? And then teaching. We had a website that was devoted to how we teach and what are some things that kids are learning about. So, what the the thinking behind this was, there are a lot of parent websites out there that are purporting to give parents tips and ideas and help them solve problems, and they're not always the best advice. So what we did was came up with what were developmentally appropriate approaches to feelings and going to kindergarten and positive discipline, and then linking to resources that we knew were okay. So making sure that parents aren't using resources that are inappropriate. So that means that you need to go out there and do some looking for stuff. And then involving, having events where parents can come into the classroom, where they can be volunteers, where they can go on field trips, having parent teacher conferences, and then having parent leadership on your board if your school is run by a board, or having a parent group so that parents have some input and some say into what's happening at school. You need to remember to be respectful of cultural differences. You need to remember that people come from different places and have different ways of doing things. Um, it may Sometimes it meant that I only talked with the fathers. The mothers weren't involved in directly with me in making decisions about their children. I'm sure that they had conversations at home, but the father was the one who was working with me. It also means sometimes you have grandparents who are, you know, dropping off the kids at preschool every day and picking up the kids at preschool every day, but they're not the primary caregivers. So making sure that you're also filling in the primary caregivers on what's going on in the child's life, not just at pick up and drop off telling grandma and grandpa what's happening, but making sure you send an email or a text to the parents as well. Respectful of communication style and preferences. I'm a fast talker. I am a person who can talk to you without looking at you. My staff used to get mad at me because I would sit at my computer and be doing things and listening to them and having a conversation with them, but that's not the most respectful way for me to communicate with them. And that goes the same way for families. You need to give someone your full attention. Respectful of language differences. Like I said, I'm a fast talker. Sometimes I needed to slow it down a little bit because the person who I was talking to might not be a native speaker. And then respectful of parents' time and resources. How often do you, as a parent, have an event that's scheduled when you're at work or it's some family time? Thinking about, you can't do parent teacher conferences necessarily during the school day. Kids are at school because their parents are at work. So you might have to do your parent teacher conferences in the evening, or we had a lot of early morning right before drop off, making sure that you are giving opportunities for all parents to be involved. And then also being uh, respectful of resources, not expecting a lot of money or time from everyone because people just don't have that. And last but not least, not directing things to mom and dad, right? Not every family is a mom and a dad. There's moms and moms, there's grandmas and grandpas, there's aunts and uncles. Directing things to families, right? Anybody can be in a family. And so it's important that you're not alienating people by saying mom and dad when that's not the way that family works. So, some of the most difficult conversations I had with parents, I know they had with me because they felt comfortable because we had developed that relationship. So things like when we had a child whose sibling died during spring break, the mom called me, because she knew that she could talk to me to talk about sending the older sibling back to school and how it would be important for that child to be in a normal place and how we could talk about it and how the teachers could talk about it. Another instance I had was a child whose one of his the parents was transitioning genders, and how we could talk about that with the child and how that was going to affect the child. So those are conversations that I had with those parents because they felt comfortable because we had developed that relationship. And those are important things to know because it's important for you to be there to be a support and a safe place for that child who's dealing with a lot of things at home. So alone we can do so little, together we can do so much. Helen Keller said it, and I think it's important for us to remember that, like Hillary Clinton said, or um, cultures well before her, it takes a village. And we are part of that child's village from the minute they come to us. And everything that we do has some impact in their lives. And we want to make sure that we're doing the right things for them that fit in with what their family wants and that makes everyone feel safe and comfortable. That's it.